Hey, thanks for clicking. This is Buddy Saga. So, a man gets destroyed by the people that he loved most, but he doesn't stay down. Stay to the end and let's get into it.
Your Honor, before you finalize anything, I need to speak. My son Brennan stood up in the back of the courtroom. 18 years old as of 3 weeks ago, the same day his mother handed me divorce papers with a smile on her face. Judge Catherine Whitmore looked surprised. This was supposed to be a routine final hearing. Sign the papers, divide the assets, and a 22-year marriage. Nothing complicated. Young man, this is a private proceeding. Who are you? I'm Brennan Ashworth. The respondent is my father. The petitioner is my mother. His voice was steady, calm. Nothing like the nervous teenager I had raised. And I have evidence that this court needs to hear before any documents are signed. My wife, Genevieve, was sitting at the petitioner's table with her lawyer, a sleek woman named Dominique Pryor, who charged $550 an hour and was worth every penny if you wanted to destroy someone in family court. Genevieve's face went pale. "Brennan, sit down," she hissed. "This doesn't concern you. Actually, Mom, it does. It concerns me more than anyone." He walked forward, past the gallery seating, past his mother's table, until he was standing in front of the judge's bench. In his hand was a small device, a digital recorder, the kind you could buy at any electronics store. "Your Honor, for the past 3 years I've been recording conversations in my home. Conversations my mother had when she thought no one was listening. Conversations that reveal fraud, adultery, and a conspiracy to deprive my father of everything he's worked for." The courtroom went silent. Judge Whitmore leaned forward. "Young man, that's a serious accusation. Do you understand the implications of what you're saying?" "Yes, ma'am. I've had 3 years to understand them." "Brennan, stop this right now." Genevieve was standing, her composure cracking. "Whatever you think you heard—" "I didn't think I heard anything, Mom. I recorded it. Hours of it. Dates, times, names, amounts. Everything." He held up the recorder. "Do you want to tell Dad the truth, or should I play it for everyone?" Genevieve looked at me, at the judge, at her lawyer, at the bailiff standing by the door. Then she ran. She actually tried to run, grabbed her purse and bolted for the side exit like a criminal fleeing a crime scene. The bailiff caught her in 3 steps, grabbed her arm, pulled her back. "Ma'am, you need to return to your seat. Let go of me. This is ridiculous. My son is lying. Ma'am, sit down." He guided her back to the petitioner's table. She was shaking now, all the polished confidence gone. The mask had slipped, and underneath was something desperate and ugly. Judge Whitmore looked at Brennan with new interest. "I think you'd better tell me what's on that recording, Mr. Ashworth." Brennan pressed play, and my entire marriage unraveled in front of me. Let me go back to the beginning. My name is Duncan Ashworth. I'm 51 years old. I've lived in Chattanooga, Tennessee for most of my adult life, working as a mechanical engineer at a manufacturing company that makes industrial equipment. Nothing glamorous, but steady work with good benefits. The kind of job that lets you buy a house, raise a family, plan for retirement. I met Genevieve Trask in 1999 at a friend's wedding. She was 23, beautiful, working as an administrative assistant at a law firm downtown. I was 26, recently promoted, feeling like I finally had my life together. We dated for 18 months, got engaged, got married in the summer of 2001. For the first few years, things were good, or I thought they were good. Genevieve wanted a nice house, so we bought one. She wanted to stay home when Brennan was born in 2005, so we made that work on my salary alone. She wanted private school for our son, so I worked overtime to afford tuition. I gave her everything she asked for, everything I could provide, and apparently it was never enough. The first time I suspected something was wrong was in 2018. Brennan was 13. I came home early from work one day and found Genevieve on the phone in the bedroom, speaking in a low voice that stopped the moment she saw me. Who was that? Just my sister. But her sister lived in Oregon and we had caller ID. The number on the phone wasn't her sister's. I let it go. Told myself I was being paranoid. told myself that after 17 years of marriage, I should trust my wife. I was a fool. The signs were there, looking back. The new clothes I didn't remember her buying. The evenings out with girlfriends that seemed to happen more and more frequently. The way she would tilt her phone away from me when texting, like she had something to hide. But I didn't want to see it. Didn't want to believe that the woman I had built my life with was lying to me. So I buried my suspicions and kept working, kept providing, kept being the reliable, steady husband she apparently found so boring. Then came Brennan's 18th birthday, March 15th, 2023. We had a small party at the house. Family, a few friends, cake and presents. Brennan was heading to college in the fall, had been accepted to Georgia Tech for engineering like his old man. It should have been a celebration. Instead, it was an ambush. After the guests left, after Brennan went to his room, Genevieve sat me down at the kitchen table. "Duncan, I want a divorce." Just like that. No build-up, no warning, no attempt to work things out. What? Why? I'm not happy. I haven't been happy for years, and now that Brennan is 18, I don't have to pretend anymore. Pretend? Genevieve, what are you talking about? She smiled. Not a sad smile, not a conflicted smile. A triumphant smile. I've been planning this for a long time, Duncan. Waiting until Brennan was an adult so custody wouldn't be an issue. Now I can finally have the life I deserve. The life you deserve? I've given you everything. You've given me a boring house in a boring city with a boring husband who works all the time. That's not a life. That's a prison sentence. She slid papers across the table. Sign these. My lawyer says if we do this amicably, it'll be faster. I looked at the papers at the woman I had loved for 22 years. At the stranger sitting across from me. I need time to think. Think all you want. But I'm done, Duncan. I'm finally done. She got up and walked away, left me sitting at the table with divorce papers and a shattered heart. That's when Brennan came downstairs. "Dad? Are you okay?" "Your mother wants a divorce." He sat down across from me. His face wasn't surprised. It was resigned, like he had been expecting this. "I know, Dad. I've known for a while." "What do you mean?" He looked toward the stairs, making sure his mother wasn't listening. "There's something I need to tell you, something I should have told you a long time ago. But I need you to trust me and not do anything until the time is right." "Brennan, what are you talking about?" "I've been recording Mom, Dad, for 3 years. I know everything she's been doing, everything she's been hiding." He pulled out his phone, showed me a folder, hundreds of audio files dated and labeled. "When you go to court, I'm going to destroy her. But we have to do this right. We have to let her think she's winning until the very end." I stared at my son. This 18-year-old boy who had apparently been building a case against his own mother for 3 years. "Why? Why would you do this?" "Because she's been lying to you, Dad. Lying and stealing and cheating. And someone had to protect you." That night, Brennan told me everything. And what I learned made me sick. The affair started in 2016. His name was Marshall Kendrick, a partner at the law firm where Genevieve had once worked, back before we were married. They had reconnected at some charity event, exchanged numbers, started meeting. For lunch. Then for more than lunch. Brennan discovered it by accident when he was 12. Came home from school early one day, sick with a stomach bug, and heard voices from the master bedroom. His mother's voice. And a man who wasn't his father. He didn't confront her. Didn't tell me. Instead, he started paying attention. I was just a kid, he told me that night. I didn't know what to do. I thought maybe it was a one-time thing. Maybe she would stop. But she didn't stop. It just kept going. By the time he was 15, Brennan had started recording. He used his phone at first, leaving it hidden in common areas of the house when Genevieve thought she was alone. Then he bought a proper digital recorder, small enough to hide anywhere. He captured phone calls, conversations with Marshall, conversations with friends where she bragged about her double life, conversations with her lawyer about the divorce she was planning. 3 years of evidence, hundreds of hours of recordings. "She talks to herself sometimes," Brennan said, "when she thinks no one is home. She'll rehearse what she's going to say to you, how she's going to spin things. I recorded all of it. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Because you would have confronted her, and she would have denied everything, and it would have been your word against hers, and her lawyer would have torn you apart. He shook his head. I needed to wait until I was 18, until I could testify as an adult, until we had her in court where she couldn't run. My son, my boy, had been carrying this burden for 3 years, protecting me, gathering evidence, waiting for the right moment. There's more, Dad. It's not just the affair. What else? She's been stealing from you. For years. She has accounts you don't know about. Money she's been siphoning from the joint accounts, from your retirement, from everywhere. She's been building a nest egg so she can leave with everything and start over with Marshall. How much? Over $340,000 that I can document. Probably more. $340,000. Money I had worked decades to save. Money for retirement, for emergencies, for our son's education, gone. Stolen by the woman who slept beside me every night. And there's one more thing. Brennan's voice dropped. The worst thing. What could be worse than this? Mom and Marshall have been planning something. I recorded them talking about it 6 months ago. They want to make sure you don't get anything in the divorce. They've been working with her lawyer to hide assets, to make false claims, to paint you as the bad guy so the judge gives her everything. What kind of false claims? Brennan looked at me with something like fear. She's going to accuse you of abuse, Dad. She has fake medical records, fake witnesses, a whole fake story. She's going to tell the court you hit her, controlled her, made her life hell. It's all lies, but she's been setting it up for months. The room spun around me. My wife was planning to accuse me of domestic abuse, to destroy my reputation, my career, my life. All so she could walk away with everything and start fresh with her lover. And she had filed for divorce on our son's birthday, thinking she had timed it perfectly. She didn't know that her own son had been preparing for this moment for 3 years. So what do we do? I asked. Brennan smiled. It was a cold smile, older than his 18 years. We let her think she's winning. We go through the divorce process, let her make her moves, let her commit to her lies, and then, at the final hearing, when it's too late for her to change course, we play the recordings. That's your plan? That's justice, Dad, the kind she never saw coming. The next 4 months were torture. I had to pretend I didn't know. Had to sit across from Genevieve at mediation sessions and listen to her lies with a straight face. Had to watch her lawyer make outrageous demands while my own attorney, a competent but outmatched guy named Gerald Vance, struggled to keep up. Genevieve wanted the house. She wanted 70% of our assets. She wanted alimony, substantial alimony, for the rest of her life. And in the background, her abuse allegations lurked like a loaded weapon. She hadn't deployed them yet, saving them, probably in case I fought back too hard, a nuclear option to ensure she got everything. I wanted to scream, wanted to throw the recordings in her face and watch her squirm, but Brennan had been right. We needed to wait, needed to let her commit to her lies in writing and depositions in legal documents. That way, when the truth came out, she couldn't claim she had been misunderstood or taken out of context. She would be proven a liar, a thief, and a fraud, in front of the court, on the record. During those months, I learned more about my wife than I had in 22 years of marriage. The affair with Marshall wasn't her first. There had been others, going back to 2008. Brennan had recorded her bragging about them to a friend, laughing about how oblivious I was. Duncan actually thinks I spent that conference in Atlanta, she had said in one recording. Meanwhile, I was in a hotel room with Craig from the gym. God, he was so easy to fool. 16 years. She had been cheating on me for 16 years, and the financial manipulation was even more extensive than Brennan had first discovered. She had opened credit cards in my name without my knowledge, had taken out a second mortgage on our house, forging my signature on the documents, had been funneling money to Marshall Kendrick for years, helping him pay off debts while I worked 60-hour weeks to keep us afloat. The total, when we finally added it all up, was closer to $480,000. Nearly $500,000. Stolen from our family, stolen from me. Brennan had recorded her discussing all of it, planning it, celebrating it. Once the divorce is final, Duncan will have nothing, she had told Marshall in one conversation. He'll be lucky to afford a studio apartment, and we'll be on a beach somewhere, living the life he could never give me. Living the life he could never give her. I had given her everything, every hour of overtime, every sacrifice, every compromise and accommodation and surrender, and she had repaid me with betrayal. The final hearing was scheduled for July 12th, 2023, 4 months after she had filed. 4 months of lies and manipulation and carefully constructed deception. Genevieve walked into that courtroom with complete confidence. She had won as far as she knew. Her lawyer had outmaneuvered mine at every turn. The settlement agreement heavily favored her. All that remained was the judge's signature. She didn't know that Brennan had taken the day off from his summer job, didn't know he was sitting in the gallery with a recorder in his pocket, didn't know that everything she had worked for was about to collapse. The hearing started normally. Dominique Pryor presented the settlement agreement. Gerald Vance offered token objections that were quickly overruled. Judge Whitmore seemed ready to approve everything and move on to her next case. Then Brennan stood up. "Your Honor, before you finalize anything, I need to speak." And the whole world changed. The first recording was from March 2022. Genevieve on the phone with Marshall, discussing their plans. "Duncan doesn't suspect anything. He's too busy working to pay attention to me. By this time next year, I'll be free of him. We just have to be patient." Marshall's voice, tinny through the phone speaker. "And the money?" "I've moved another $20,000 this month. He never checks the accounts. The man works like a dog and has no idea where his money goes." "What about the kid? Brennan?" "He's oblivious too, just like his father. Once I'm gone, Duncan can deal with him. I've done my time as a mother." The recording ended. Judge Whitmore's face was stone. "Is that your voice, Mrs. Ashworth?" Genevieve was gripping the table in front of her, knuckles white. That was taken out of context. I was venting to a friend. That was Marshall Kendrick, her lover. Brennan's voice cut through her excuses. "They've been having an affair since 2016. I have recordings going back 3 years that document everything." "This is inadmissible." Dominique Pryor was on her feet. "This is illegal wiretapping. Tennessee is a one-party consent state, Your Honor." Brennan was calm, prepared. "I was present for these conversations. I had legal right to record them." Judge Whitmore held up a hand. "Counselor, I'm aware of the recording laws in this state. These appear to be legally obtained." She looked at Brennan. "What else do you have?" "I have recordings of my mother admitting to financial fraud, opening credit cards in my father's name, forging his signature on mortgage documents, moving money to hidden accounts." He pressed play on the next recording. Genevieve's voice. "The second mortgage was the easiest part. Duncan never looks at paperwork. I just told him it was a refinance to get a better rate, and he signed where I pointed. He doesn't even know we're $180,000 deeper in debt than he thinks." Another recording. "Marshall needed help with his taxes, so I moved $30,000 from Duncan's retirement account. He won't notice until he actually retires, and by then I'll be long gone." Another. "The credit cards are in his name, but I make the purchases. When the divorce goes through, those debts will be his responsibility. He'll be paying off my shopping for years." Each recording was worse than the last. A portrait of a woman who had systematically dismantled her husband's financial security while he worked to provide for their family. But the worst was still to come. "Your Honor," Brennan said, "there's one more recording you need to hear. It's from January of this year. My mother discussing her strategy for the divorce proceedings." He pressed play. Genevieve's voice. "If Duncan fights back at all, I'll use the abuse card. I've already laid the groundwork. Fake medical records showing bruises, statements from friends who will claim they saw him be controlling. Dominique says it's foolproof." Marshall. "Will the court believe it? Courts always believe the woman, especially with documentation. By the time we're done, Duncan will look like a monster. He'll be lucky to get visitation with his own son, let alone any assets." Marshall. What if Brennan says something, defends him? Brennan will do what I tell him. He's always been closer to me anyway. And if he doesn't cooperate, I'll tell the court he's been manipulated by his father. Parental alienation, I have that angle covered too. The recording ended. The courtroom was absolutely silent. Judge Whitmore's face had gone from neutral to thunderous. Mrs. Ashworth, you were planning to make false accusations of domestic abuse against your husband. Genevieve was crying now. Real tears, ugly tears, the tears of someone who has been caught. I was scared. I didn't know what else to do. You were planning to fabricate medical records, suborn perjury from witnesses, commit fraud upon this court. It was just talk. I never would have actually. I have the fake medical records. Brennan held up a folder. I found them in her desk 2 months ago. Photocopied everything, statements from 3 of her friends, all describing incidents of abuse that never happened. A falsified report from a doctor who was paid to create fake documentation. He handed the folder to the bailiff, who passed it to the judge. Judge Whitmore reviewed the documents. Her expression grew darker with each page. Mrs. Ashworth, these documents describe injuries that required hospital treatment. Treatment that would be documented in official medical records. I can explain. Can you explain why these hospital records have different formatting than actual records from this institution? Can you explain why the doctor listed doesn't appear in any medical database I can access? Can you explain why you were planning to present fraudulent evidence in my courtroom? Genevieve had no answer. She looked at her lawyer. Dominique Pryor was already gathering her files, distancing herself from her client. Your Honor, I had no knowledge of any fraudulent documentation. My client assured me. We'll discuss your involvement later, Counselor. Judge Whitmore turned to the bailiff. Please ensure Mrs. Ashworth does not leave this courtroom. I'm calling a recess to contact the district attorney's office. What I've heard today suggests multiple criminal offenses including fraud, perjury, identity theft, and conspiracy to make false statements to a court. The bailiff moved to stand beside Genevieve. And that's when she tried to run. She actually bolted, knocking over her chair, shoving past her lawyer, making a desperate dash for the side exit. She made it about 10 feet before the bailiff caught her. Ma'am, you need to stay calm. Let me go. This is a setup. My son is lying. Ma'am, sit down. I'm not going to prison. This isn't fair. It took the bailiff and a court security officer to get her back to her seat. She was sobbing now, mascara running down her face. All the polish and poise stripped away. This was the real Genevieve. The woman beneath the mask. Desperate, selfish, ugly. Judge Whitmore watched the scene with undisguised contempt. Mrs. Ashworth, your behavior is noted for the record. This court is in recess. When we reconvene, we will discuss the complete restructuring of this divorce settlement, and you will be meeting with law enforcement regarding potential criminal charges. She banged the gavel. The hearing was over, but the consequences were just beginning. The next 6 months were chaos. The district attorney's office opened an investigation into Genevieve's activities. The evidence was overwhelming, not just Brennan's recordings, but the financial records, the forged documents, the testimony of witnesses who had been recruited to lie. She was charged with 17 counts of various offenses: fraud, forgery, identity theft, perjury, conspiracy, attempted subornation of witnesses. Her lawyers tried to negotiate a plea deal. The DA wasn't interested. She was going to destroy an innocent man's life with false abuse allegations, the prosecutor told the press. She doesn't get to walk away from that. The trial lasted 3 weeks. Brennan testified for 2 full days, played recording after recording, explained how he had gathered evidence, described what it was like to watch his mother betray his father for years while pretending everything was normal. I knew my dad would never believe me without proof, he said on the stand. He loved her too much. He trusted her completely. The only way to save him was to document everything and wait for the right moment. And you carried this secret for 3 years? Yes, sir. That must have been difficult. It was. But my dad spent 22 years working to give us a good life. The least I could do was spend 3 years protecting him. I cried when he said that. Sitting in the gallery watching my son testify against his mother, I cried without shame. This boy I had raised, this young man who had seen his family crumbling and instead of looking away had done something about it. He had saved me. Genevieve was convicted on 14 of 17 counts. The judge sentenced her to 8 years in state prison with possibility of parole after 5. In the civil proceedings that followed, the divorce settlement was completely restructured. I got the house. I got 75% of the remaining assets. I got documentation of all the money she had stolen, which would be used to calculate restitution payments for years to come. Marshall Kendrick was named as a co-conspirator in several of the financial crimes. He lost his partnership at the law firm. His wife divorced him when she found out about the affair. Last I heard, he was working at a strip mall legal clinic, handling traffic tickets and small claims. The friends who had agreed to provide false testimony about abuse? They were charged with conspiracy to commit perjury. Probation for most of them, but their names were in the papers. Their reputations ruined. The doctor who had created fake medical records? He lost his license, faced his own criminal charges. Last I heard, he was working as a pharmaceutical sales rep in another state. Everyone who had helped Genevieve try to destroy me faced consequences. Justice. Real justice. The kind you rarely see in divorce proceedings. And it all happened because an 18-year-old boy refused to let his mother get away with it. Brennan started at Georgia Tech that fall. I drove him down to Atlanta, helped him move into his dorm, met his roommate. Normal father-son stuff. The kind of thing I had been looking forward to for years. But nothing felt normal anymore. "Dad, are you okay?" he asked as we carried boxes up 4 flights of stairs. "I'm fine, just thinking." "About Mom?" I set down the box I was carrying, looked at my son, this young man who had grown up too fast, who had carried burdens no teenager should have to carry. "I'm thinking about you, about what you did, about the 3 years you spent gathering evidence while pretending everything was normal. I did what I had to do. You shouldn't have had to do anything. You were a kid. It wasn't your job to protect me. Maybe not, but someone had to." He shrugged. "And I was the only one who knew the truth. How did you handle it? All those years, knowing what she was doing, seeing her lie to my face every day?" Brennan was quiet for a moment. "It was hard, really hard. Some days I wanted to just tell you everything, blow it all up, deal with the consequences." He shook his head. "But I knew that wouldn't work. Mom's smart. She would have talked her way out of it, made me look like a troubled kid with problems. The only way to beat her was to have undeniable proof. 3 years is a long time to keep a secret." "Yeah, but you're worth it, Dad." I hugged him. "Held on longer than I probably should have. I don't know what I did to deserve a son like you. You showed up. Every day you showed up. You worked hard, you provided for us, you never complained. Even when Mom treated you like crap, you kept trying to make things work." He pulled back and looked at me. "You're a good man, Dad. You deserve better than what she gave you. I just wanted to make sure you got it." We finished moving him in. Had dinner at a restaurant near campus. Said goodbye in the parking lot with promises to call every week. I drove home alone. The house was empty now. Brennan was at college. Genevieve was in prison. Just me and the silence. But it wasn't a sad silence. It was peaceful. Clean. For the first time in years, I didn't have to wonder what secrets were hiding in my own home. The truth was out. The lies were exposed and I was finally free. 2 years have passed since that day in the courtroom. I'm 53 now. Still working at the same company, though I cut back to 40 hours a week. Turns out I don't need to work 60 anymore when I'm not funding my wife's secret life. I sold the house last year. Too many memories, too many ghosts. Bought a smaller place closer to downtown, modern and clean and nothing like the home I shared with Genevieve. I started dating again. Nothing serious yet, but I went to dinner with a woman from my gym last month. Nice conversation, no red flags. We're meeting again next week. Baby steps. Brennan is thriving at Georgia Tech, made the dean's list both years, has an internship lined up at an engineering firm in Atlanta for the summer. He's going to be okay. Better than okay. We talk every Sunday. He tells me about classes and friends and the girl he's been seeing, normal college kid stuff, the kind of conversations I always hoped we'd have. Sometimes we talk about his mother. She's up for parole next year. 3 years served of her 8-year sentence. Good behavior, apparently. Model prisoner. The parole board sent me a letter asking if I wanted to make a statement. I haven't decided yet. Part of me wants to let it go. She's been punished. She lost everything, her freedom, her reputation, her son. What more can I ask for? But another part of me remembers those recordings, the casual cruelty in her voice, the way she laughed about deceiving me, the fake abuse allegations that would have destroyed my life if Brennan hadn't stopped her, some things you don't forgive. I asked Brennan what he thought. I'm not making a statement, he said. She's not worth my energy. Anymore. You don't care if she gets out early? She'll still be a felon, still have nothing, still be the woman who tried to frame her own husband and got caught by her own son. He paused. That's her punishment, Dad, not prison. Living the rest of her life knowing what she did and how it ended. That's what she has to carry now. My son. Wise beyond his years. Maybe too wise. Do you regret it? I asked him. Recording her? Testifying against her, all of it? He thought about it for a long time. I regret that it was necessary. I wish I'd had a mother I didn't have to protect you from. I wish our family had been what it looked like from the outside. But the recordings themselves. No, I'd do it again. Without hesitation. His voice was firm. You're my dad. You've always been there for me. And when I found out she was planning to destroy you, I couldn't just stand by and watch. Most kids would have stayed out of it, told themselves it wasn't their business. Maybe. But I'm not most kids. He smiled slightly. I'm your kid, and you raised me to do the right thing, even when it's hard. I didn't know what to say to that, so I just told him I loved him. It was enough. There's one more thing I want to share before I end this. 6 months ago, I got a letter from Genevieve. The prison allows inmates to send mail, and apparently she had decided to write me. I almost threw it away without reading it. But curiosity won out. The letter was 3 pages long. I'll spare you most of it. The justifications, the rationalizations, the explanations that weren't really explanations. But there was one paragraph near the end that stuck with me. I know you'll never forgive me. I'm not asking you to. What I did was unforgivable. I told myself for years that you were the problem, that you weren't enough, that I deserved more. But sitting in this cell with nothing but time to think, I've realized something. You were never the problem, Duncan. The problem was me. I was never satisfied, never happy, never capable of appreciating what I had. And instead of facing that truth, I blamed you. I cheated. I stole. I tried to destroy you. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm just asking you to know that I understand now. Too late, far too late, but I understand. I read that paragraph 3 times. Then I tore up the letter and threw it away. Understanding doesn't fix anything. Realizations in a prison cell don't undo 20 years of lies. Words on a page don't make up for what she tried to do to me. But there was something satisfying in knowing that she finally saw the truth, that she couldn't hide from it anymore, that every day for the rest of her life she would have to live with what she had done. That's its own kind of justice. I think about that courtroom sometimes. The moment when Brennan stood up and changed everything, the look on Genevieve's face when she realized her son had been recording her for 3 years, the way she tried to run, tried to escape, tried to avoid the consequences of her choices. She thought she had planned everything perfectly, waited until our son was 18, timed the divorce filing for his birthday like some kind of sick celebration. She never considered that her own child might be the one to bring her down. That's the thing about secrets. They only stay secret as long as no one is paying attention. Brennan paid attention, and he saved me. If you're watching this and you're going through something similar, a divorce, a betrayal, a partner who is hiding things from you, I want you to know something. The truth matters, even when it's painful. Even when you wish you could go back to not knowing, the truth is always better than living in a lie. I spent years believing I had a happy marriage, believing my wife loved me, believing our family was solid and real and built on something true. It was all fake, every moment of it. But knowing that, as much as it hurt, has set me free, I'm not living in a lie anymore. I'm not wondering why things don't feel right. I'm not questioning my own perceptions while someone manipulates me behind my back. I know the truth, and the truth, however painful, is something solid to stand on. One last thing. Last week, Brennan called me with news. Dad, I met someone. Her name is Amber. She's an architecture student. I really like her. That's great, son. When do I get to meet her? Maybe over Christmas break? If that's not weird. Why would it be weird? I don't know. Because of everything with Mom. Because of how our family turned out. I thought about how to respond. Brennan, what happened with your mother wasn't about families in general. It was about her specifically. Her choices, her deceptions. That doesn't mean you can't have something real with someone else. How do you know it won't end up the same way? You don't. That's the scary part, but you can't let fear keep you from trying. I paused. The fact that you're worried about it already tells me you're going to be okay. People like your mother don't worry about hurting others. They just do it. You're not like that. I hope you're right. I know I'm right. I raised you. He laughed. A good sound. A healing sound. Thanks, Dad. I'll bring Amber at Christmas. I think you'll like her. I'm sure I will. We said goodbye. I hung up the phone and sat in my quiet house thinking about the future. My son was in love, was building a life of his own, was going to be okay despite everything, and so was I. Not because the pain was gone, it never really goes away, but because the truth had set us both free. And sometimes that's enough. Like this video if you stayed until the end. Share it with someone who needs to hear that it's possible to survive betrayal. And if you're going through something hard right now, remember, the truth always comes out eventually. Make sure you're on the right side of it when it does.